everyone. I'm Wendell Jones, and welcome to the platform. On this program, we examine national issues. And on our program today, we are going to discuss the youth of the nation and how one particular organization is reaching young people in particular. It's the Big Harvest Community Sunday School. You've heard about it before, I'm sure, if you are an avid viewer of this television program, the platform, because last year, around the same time, we had as our guest Mr. John W. Ferguson, who is the superintendent of this community Sunday school in the alley. And on the program today, we're going to talk about social programs. Indeed, we're going to talk about crime, because Mr. Ferguson is a former assistant commissioner of police.
Yes.
It's our pleasure to have him here today.
Indeed, it's always a pleasure to be on your show, Mr. Jones.
Thank you so very much. Mr. Eneas?
Thank you.
And Mr. Ferguson, I always tease Mr. Ferguson, Godfrey, Eneas, that he retired far too young.
Yes, yeah, I agree with you.
You agree with me?
I agree with you.
It seems to me that he should still be
Should be on the force, yeah.
Well, you know, life is incremental, and you have to realize as you run your leg, when your leg is finished.
You really thought your leg was finished?
Yeah, my leg was finished. I ran my race.
But you have a tremendous amount of energy left, because you are dealing with a community program that is reaching many, eh?
Indeed it is, indeed it is.
For those who don't know and who haven't seen you on the last program, what is the Big Harvest Community Sunday School about?
The Big Harvest Community Sunday School is a community-based entity that focuses specifically on at-risk youth, underprivileged kids, and all and sundry who resides in these communities, who are looking for mentoring, who are looking for direction, who are looking for someone to embrace them, to make them believe that not only that Jesus loved them, but that people in this world exist, love them too, and to give them a hope, not only a physical hope, but a spiritual hope. And that's what we are all about. And that's why it's community-based.
How long has it been in operation?
19 years.
19 years?
19 years. September 1995 was when we started our first Sunday school in the alley. There were 35 children. Now we have an enrollment of about 500 now, and growing, with new faces showing up every Sunday afternoon.
That is phenomenal, because when you talk about that number, it tells me that young people are yearning for something to do. They want something to do.
Indeed they are, Mr. Jones, but we as adults have to provide that setting, provide that platform in order for them to excel. And not only excel in academics, excel in behavior, excel in their general deportment. And so you have to present a rounded program where, just like a plane, it has to fly on two wings. And you have to make people, and particularly these youngsters, believe that they are a part of something that is going somewhere.
Mr. Ferguson, obviously throughout our country, there are community activists like yourself, C.B. Moss, Fernie Palmer, and others, people who have taken it upon themselves to make a difference in these different communities. Is that what is absent more often than is present?
I agree with you. We need more people to get on board. You see, you cannot depend on a certain group or a certain amount of young or people, or just a particular amount of people who, when you bring up programs, their name comes up.
Yeah.
We need what I would call a new recruitment program in that direction, so that we can have persons, organizations, service clubs in every area of this country, including the family islands, because a lot of the vices is now spilling into our family islands that were once tranquil. So now we need all of those persons who have been trained in youth programs. A lot of these churches and organizations have talented, gifted young people who have all of the qualifications needed to lead others, but they have to come out and get in ground zero. That's where the action is in ground zero.
And ground zero, you describe ground zero as in the ghetto.
In the community.
In the community.
That's where the action is. That's the battlefield.
Do you think we lack a spirit of volunteerism in this country?
Well, as you know, every time someone wants, or you offer, or you say to someone, do this, they want to know what's in it for me.
Yeah.
How much, what you paying? No, that's a natural fact, you know, and if it's nothing in it for them, they might start, but they phase out because it's not from the heart. But when people are doing things from the heart with a passion, man, the last thing they're talking about is money. I could never pay myself for the amount of time, the thousands of hours that I put in to the community, because I know that there is an eternal reward. And not only an eternal reward, but I know that I'm doing something that sometime in the future, if only one young man could come, and I've seen it happen, and say, sir, because of what you did, I escaped jail, or I escaped an untimely death, so to speak. That's the satisfaction. Ferguson,
Brendan and I discuss this all the time. Changing of behavior. In many of these communities, there's a behavioral problem. And the behavioral problem seems to be a negative one, where a lot of these young people adopt seemingly the wrong things. Why is it skewed to negativism rather than positivism?
Because it's skewed like that because from time to time, the negative seem to overshadow the positive. It's like too evil. It's like darkness trying to kill light. Now the more powerful one will overtake the other one. And that's why I keep saying, and I see why Jesus had to say, he is the light of the world, not the mother fellas. He is the light of the world. And anytime you're doing anything and God is with you, man, you'll outshine the sun. Don't mind you see a couple fellas carrying on and behaving. Time will take care of them. And I am of the opinion that the Bahamas, this country, that people have worked so hard to bring to a particular level, that men and women gave their life, some of them, all that they had, to allow this country just to slide into oblivion, and we stand by idly and say, and wring our hands and say we can do nothing. God forbid.
Ferguson, talking about darkness and light. There's a tremendous amount of darkness you find in the various communities of the province. As a matter of fact, people sometimes say that he is from the dark side. And the dark side represents nefarious deeds. It represents delinquency.
Yeah.
People from the dark side. But Christians are supposed to be the light of the world.
Indeed.
And they are supposed to show light. And my question is, do we have a lack of a sense of community where people who are churchgoers, and I am not saying Christians now,
Hey.
churchgoers just fail to show the light so that they can extricate these young people from the dark side?
You know, it's interesting that you said that, and I like how you emphasize churchgoers. Anybody on a Sunday morning could put on his suit or his or her dress and say they're going to the temple. This has been happening from the time of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. But unless you are exhibiting in your heart and it's permeating out of you the spirit or the example that Jesus set when he was among the crooks, among all of those Pharisees, Sadducees, and all of those wicked fellas. This is nothing new under the sun. He was able, through his 12 disciples that he appointed, he was able to overcome everything that existed in those times. Hence, the same thing can happen today. If we adopt and if we go by what was left, but a lot of people have deviated from what was left on record, and they're trying to devise something of their own, and it can't work. You have to go by the blueprint that was left on record, which is the Bible. If we say it's a Christian nation, well then the Bible, that's your book.
Yeah, but Mr. Ferguson, I use the words church goers with precision, all right? I intentionally used church goers.
Right.
Because we have a whole lot of people who just like church, like going to church.
Yes.
But they ain't really no Christians now.
I understand that,
Okay.
because
They like church.
Yeah.
They like the entertainment they get in churches. Some of them like the sounds they sing.
yes.
They are church goers. They
Yes.
just like church.
Yeah.
But in terms of allowing their lights to shine to do what you are doing in the alley, they ain't for that.
Because, one, they're not called for it. Number two, they have no interest in doing it. Number three, they're scared. Number four, that's, to some of them, that's, that ain't for them. But you see, that's why I cannot run away from the greatest example that has been left on this earth for man to follow, the principle and the teaching of Jesus Christ, who sat with Zacchaeus, who was a corrupt tax collector. Zacchaeus was corrupt. Nicodemus and all of these nefarious people, he embraced them because he saw them as individuals who can benefit, or who could have benefited from his presence. And indeed they did. And nothing is nothing new under the sun.
But following up on Jones's question, Mr. Ferguson, how many parents use your Sunday school as a babysitting place on Sundays and just drop them off and they go where they gotta go and then come back 2 or 3 hours later and pick them up? Some place to go on Sunday. Do you encounter that kind of attitude?
In the minority, because
Oh, in the-
we counteracted that by creating a class for the parents. So if you come to Big Harvest on any given Sunday afternoon, you will see in one corner of the courtyard a class with adults. That's the parents of those kids who are in the other classes. So there's no such thing as dropping off and coming back. No.
As a person, I am sure that there is an enticement for them to be there. You hear announcements on radio all the time. Refreshment will be served following the meeting.
Yeah.
Food. I'm sure
Yeah.
that it ain't just what you say in there.
True.
It has to do with certain things that you add to what you do.
Of course.
All right.
Of course. I agree.
Good. Now, you have to do that in order to keep the crowd.
Not necessarily so. And here's why I said that. I say that, and let me quantify that. You remember when Jesus fed the 5,000? After he finished teaching, the disciples came and said, they're hungry now. How are we going to feed this crowd? And Jesus said, sit them down. Sit them down. Look among the crowd and see if anybody bought his lunch. Little fella bought his little 5 loaves and 2 fish. He said, that's not enough. He said, bring that. Bring that. And he blessed that and he fed 5,000. What am I saying? When we...
You take that in the literal sense?
Well, I'll tell you. Let me finish. When you see those youngsters come to us, we are prepared to run the whole 9 yards with them in terms of their spiritual welfare, their physical welfare, and if they have to come to us for the rest of their life to get a cup of juice and a slice of cake, and that will sustain them and cause them to want to come to us, then that's the bait. That's all that is. When you catching fish, if you don't bait the line right, you ain't gonna catch no fish. And that's why a lot of boats are empty. They have no bait to offer the people. So when you get the fish in the boat, you can do whatever you want to do with the fish.
I don't want to take you up on the miracle of the 5 loaves, but let me go beyond this, Mr. Ferguson. We don't have a problem with young people in this country, in my view. I think we have a problem with adults.
Yeah.
I think we blame young people for the delinquency of parents. We blame young people for the delinquency of adults.
Right.
Because my view, probably misguided, is that if you have parents who are in tune, who are in touch, who are responsible, you would produce responsible children. And I verily believe that delinquent parents and parents who fail to do what they are supposed to do are responsible for delinquent children.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Agreed.
And so the problem then must begin at the parenting level, at the extent to which we have good parents
Yes.
and guardians in our society.
Yes.
Now, how do we bring that about? Because you are dealing with some tots
Yeah.
who perhaps, if not guided properly, would be bad parents.
True.
Now, in the community, we have a parenting problem. How do we fix that?
Now you really hitting the nail on the head, and I'll tell you why I say that. When you have a young lady who is about, let's say 22, 23, and she already has about 2 or 3 children, and chances are those 2 kids may be for 2 different chaps, and none of them are living in the house with her, and she is struggling as a single mother to keep this, what I would call, mountain of energy with these youngsters. That's an awesome task. And the point I'm making is parenting how it used to be, where, you see, parenting is more than just a physical exercise. A lot of our young people need lessons in parenting. It is more than just producing a child. It's more than just saying, oh, I have a girl or a boy. No, it's more than that. Parents now have to be more mature. They must understand that in developing children in the various stages of their development requires maturity. And if they were born in the circumstances that the children were born in, it's hardly, even to think that the children would be any better. But that is why we have to cultivate and create more people who understand what is happening in our community and what the social problem is. We have a tremendous social problem in our country.
Absolutely.
Mr. Ferguson.
We got to take a break here. Godfrey, we'll come back to Mr. Godfrey Eneas with a question. You take this break on the platform, we'll come right back.